The road to a dysfunctional workplace and frustration is poorly defined expectations. And when leaders do it for themselves and for their teams, things get done more efficiently, more effectively. Everybody wins.
This is the Leadership Foundry podcast. I'm your co-host this week, Brandon Smith, and joining me is my co-host and co-founder, Randy Hain. And today, we're going to talk about a topic that if you're a manager or leader, or frankly, anybody in the workplace, but definitely managers and leaders, this is a topic that's going to be near and dear to your heart. This is going to be a topic that's probably your number one wish list item, if not your number one pain point. Mm-hmm. And that is, how do we reclaim our time? Our time is our most precious resource, and we live in a world where everything is urgent all the time. So Randy and I, this is something that we spend a lot of time working with our Leadership Foundry clients, both individually in coaching conversations, but also when we run sessions. So we're going to offer today our top 5 list on ways you can reclaim your time. Our top 5 kind of best practices for you on how you can reclaim your time. So, Randy, my friend, did I open this well? Anything you'd like to add to the importance of time before you kick us off with your first item?
Now, listen, I was excited about this show. This is a topic that we do talk about with every client, probably almost every session. Somehow it weaves its way into our dialogue. So as you and I are working with leaders, we know that this is probably one of the top 2 issues they're dealing with. Every leader, every company, doesn't matter. So let me frame up how I think I'm going to talk about this today and see what you think. And one other thing, when you think about time, remember, it is a finite resource. You do not have an infinite supply of time. You know, if you lose money, you can go make more money, but if you lose time, it's gone. So this idea of reclaiming your time is really important. So the way I'll frame up my part of this discussion is, we all need to get to this place where we recognize that either our calendars are controlling us or we are controlling our calendars. Now, I know what you're thinking, audience. You're probably thinking, well, I don't have a lot of choice. My boss invited me to a meeting and I've got to be here and there and I don't have any control. That's not going to work and it's not sustainable. What we want to do at the end of this show is have given you enough best practices that you're going to start to reclaim time, but also reclaim control. So that's how I'm going to kind of lean into this today. So Brandon, my first sort of top 5 best practice is be disciplined and honor your priorities. And let me tell you where I'm coming from on this. Before we can get into any of the practical sort of best practices element of reclaiming time, I think we all need to understand what our priorities are. And oh, by the way, I think we agree on this. Your priorities cannot just be work stuff. Your personal life, your work life, all of it is blended together. Again, you've only got so many hours a day, probably 16 waking hours, 8 sleeping hours. So you've got to get everything done in those 16 awake hours you can. So you've got to know what your priorities are. I'm very clear about mine. I know you're very clear about yours. But then this is what's really important. Not only know your priorities and honor them, but you've got to be very disciplined about scheduling them and making sure they happen. So in my life, I schedule everything that's important. Not only my work meetings, my client meetings, my content development time, but I schedule my exercise. I schedule my dinner time with my family, taking my son to the doctor, whatever is important, it goes on the calendar. And I don't move things around unless it's truly an emergency. So my first one is going to be discipline around honoring your priorities, and woven into that, the glue that makes that work is schedule everything that's important and honor the schedule. So that's how I'm going to kick us off.
Randy, that's fantastic. And you inspired me to make a slight tweak to my next one. So I love that you talk about priorities. So I think we often kind of fall into this FOMO trap, this fear of missing out. And so I had someone share with me kind of the 4 Ds whenever things come their way. And we teach this to our clients now. When things come your way, there are 4 Ds. We can do it, we can delegate it, we can delete it, or we can delay it. I'll be coming back to this list as I offer up some of my other best practices. But so often the do is the default. We just do. We don't want to miss out. We want to go to that meeting. We want to do all the work ourselves. So I'm going to suggest as our second tip, look for opportunities to delegate, particularly if you're in any kind of managerial supervisory kind of role, leadership role. Great opportunity to grow and develop your folks around you. We don't always have to be the ones doing it. And in fact, it's by letting those other folks give it a shot that they're going to grow and develop. And when they can do the things that normally we would do, it allows us to function more on the business rather than in the business. If we stay in the business, our time's going to be used up real fast, and we're not really going to be able to do those strategic things that only we can do. So I'm going to say for point number 2, we're going to look at those 4 Ds and lean on the second D, delegate. Delegate.
I love that. And I think, well, first of all, you're such an expert at delegation with the whole author versus editor topic that you speak about all the time and have written about. Love it. And I think where I'm going to go with my second and our overall, I guess, third topic is it's a second cousin, maybe a first cousin to my first point. But I want us to think about really honoring boundaries for ourselves and for our colleagues. Now, this is a big one because, especially in the age of COVID, when a lot of us were working from home exclusively, I think boundaries almost went away. It was almost like you're on all the time. You're at home. Everything got blended together. But when I'm talking to clients today, remote, hybrid, or all in the office, whatever, and we're really moving more towards in the office, you've got to have a beginning and an end to the day. You've got to find a way to really stick to a certain time frame to get work done. Because here's what happens. This is the ugly side of the boundary issue. When we don't have boundaries, what happens is we take work home with us, and we are casually emailing and sending texts to our colleagues after hours and on weekends. And even if you think, and you're mistaken in your thought if you think this, that they don't have to respond, they are likely checking every message, and they are going to feel obligated to respond, especially if you're a more senior leader. So my challenge to you with my second point, or third overall, is honor boundaries. First of all, you need it for yourself. You need to be able to turn work off and enjoy your family and other elements of your life that are not work related. But so do your colleagues. So let's make sure whatever time you cut off for the day, be it 5 or 6 o'clock, that if you want to send an email, do the delayed send for it to go out the next day. If you want to work on a Saturday morning, that is your business. But don't email your colleagues. Do a delayed send so it goes out Monday at 5 a.m. So let's be really, really tight about boundaries and honor those for ourselves because we need it, but also for our colleagues. And let's respect those boundaries more. That's my second tip.
And Randy, excellent. So we've hit 3 so far. We're making good progress. And this next tip that I'm going to offer is actually very much akin to the one you just suggested. And that is clarifying expectations is also
one of my favorite.
Important. Really important as we're managing time. So, folks ask you to do something. We want to clarify their expectations so that we can make sure we're properly slotting it into our calendar. I did some interviews a few years ago with some Napa Auto Care owners. And so these were folks, mechanics own auto shops. And one of them told me the story. He said, yeah, you want to make sure that, when a customer comes in with a problem, don't just say, yes, I can do that. I can get that to you today. Ask them when they need it by. So the customer comes in with a car problem. Don't just say, yeah, we'll get it done by the end of the day, without asking, do you need this today? Because maybe they're going on a 2-week vacation. So now we've made a promise. We've made it urgent. We've actually put pressure on our time, when had we just asked a few clarifying questions, it would have really helped us know how to manage that properly. And we move so quickly for all of us in kind of a yes mode. We just want to tell our leader yes, tell the client yes, tell that colleague yes, that it ends up piling up onto our calendar. And if we would borrow from our friends in improv theater and say yes and, it would help us with this, help us to, as you say, Randy, put air in our calendar. So if we say yes and, we can say things like, yes and, happy to do this, and when do you need this by? Just by asking that extra question. When do you need this
Mhm.
by? It can help us manage those things. And it also makes those urgent requests start to turn into a negotiation a bit more.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
when everybody comes to you with issues, it's almost like you're the emergency room and these are patients coming in the door. Everyone thinks their problem is a 5-alarm fire. Well,
Mhm.
after doing a little triaging and asking some questions, you may learn actually this is more like a 2-alarm fire. This one
Mhm.
is important, but it can wait. Whereas this one is a 4-alarm fire. I should probably get on it right away. So just by clarifying those expectations, it allows us to properly slot things in our calendar at the right time
Mhm.
and current pace versus dropping it all on our lap right now, which can be overwhelming. So that would be my second one, and our fourth one total, which is a clarifying expectations, so we can properly manage our time accurately.
Brandon, you're speaking my love language. I love talking about this. I think we both would agree the road to a dysfunctional workplace and frustration is poorly defined expectations. And when leaders do it for themselves and for their teams, things get done more efficiently, more effectively. Everybody wins. So I'm really glad you brought that up. My third topic and our fifth overall is be wary of pursuing the badge of honor. So there is a badge of honor that exists in almost every company. Who's going to work the most hours? Who's going to stay the longest every day? Who's going to work weekends? Who's going to work through their vacation and not actually take a vacation? And it exists everywhere. I'll be honest with you, when I was early in my career, I wore the badge of honor. I was happy to do it. But as I've gotten older and hopefully a little wiser, I recognize that that is a foolish award that we are pursuing. So there is nothing wrong with hard work. My goodness. I preach that language all the time. Out hustle everybody, work hard, but let's do it with a little wisdom. Let's be smart about it. If you're working 60 hours just because, and you don't really know why you're doing it, you don't even know if anyone's paying attention, you might want to rethink that approach. If you're working till 8 o'clock every night because you assume that's the expectation of your boss, you might want to clarify your expectations with your boss and ask them what they expect of you. Because if you're putting that many hours in, you're sacrificing probably in three key areas. One, you're probably sacrificing self care. You're probably not taking good care of yourself if you're working that much. Second, your family is probably suffering if you're working that much and working weekends and working nights. The third thing is your friendships are probably suffering because you're not spending enough time with your relationships, your friends. So let's be wary maybe of pursuing the badge of honor. Again, working hard, hustling, all good, all day long. But let's be careful to not overdo it because then it goes into the excess category and it creates problems.
Beautiful, Randy. Just hearing you talk, and I'm thinking, gosh, that was 5. We just hit 5. There's more. So I think we got some time left. Let's go into bonus. So we're going to
Sure.
go into kind of overtime, folks, and we're going to offer some bonus ones.
Sure.
So as you were talking, Randy, I'll offer up another one, and it's related to this to a certain degree. It's rather than kind of working hard, work smart, which is kind of to your point. And so let's honor our hourly rate.
Love it.
Honor our hourly rate. So in other words, there are some things that maybe we've always done, we like doing. It's maybe it's where we go when we're stressed out. It's kind of we kind of when I work with leaders that maybe are general managers and they came from like a distribution center earlier in their career. When they get stressed out, they'll say, I got to get back to the distribution center. Or they came from sales and interacting with customers. They're like, I got to get behind the windshield and drive and go see a customer. But honoring our hourly rates are really an important thing to do, because we don't want to be doing things that we could be delegating to other folks, or maybe even delaying and deleting off of our calendar. Because we are paid to do a certain job, and we want to make sure that our time, our calendar, maps to the job that only we can do. And so often as leaders, we find ourselves, doing the work of our teams or doing other work that doesn't honor our hourly rate. So I would offer that as a bonus one. be really thinking about your hourly rate, because the last thing you want to be doing is be the highest paid person doing that job. And often when that's the case, we also often be also the worst person doing that job. So honoring our hourly rate would be my first bonus.
Love it. I love it. And my only one other add to this is one that's probably going to make our audience feel nervous. As soon as the words leave my lips, it's going to make them nervous. I want to challenge everybody to make saying no a superpower. Saying no should be your superpower, but it's not an obnoxious brick wall no. It is a sort of a softer qualifying no, where when someone comes to you with an ask, a demand on your time, because remember, the whole point of today is reclaiming your time. So let's say you're invited to a meeting. Instead of the immediate, yes, I'll be there, what if you pause and just ask a question or two? Hey, tell me what the meeting's about. Can you send me an agenda? What is the role that I'm going to play in the meeting that you want me to attend? Do we really need to meet for 90 minutes? Can I just send you an email with a recap of what my team is working on? You see where I'm going with this. I'm qualifying your ask. So I'm not just saying no, I'm stopping and saying, hold on a minute. Let's actually talk about what you're asking me for. And at the end of asking all these great questions, you may learn that, wow, I don't even need to be in this meeting. So I'm not going because I don't need to be there for these reasons. I think another element of saying no is offering alternatives. So it's no, but. Hey, Brandon, I can't make the 5 o'clock meeting today. I'm really sorry, but tomorrow at 8 o'clock and Friday at 7:30, I've got some windows of availability. Which one of those would you like to pick? So I said no, but I'm quickly pushing you over to alternatives that work for me. And the reason I like saying no as a superpower, first of all, I think we don't say no nearly enough, and we need to all get better at that. But I think it also helps us fix something that we probably need to have another episode about, which is fixing dysfunctional meetings. So when I'm saying no to your meeting request and not going to everyone you invite me to, and I'm asking you important questions, I'm likely getting you to rethink, do I even need to have this meeting? Do I need Randy in it? So we'll get to that topic another day, but saying no well also helps you not spend time in meetings that are a waste of time. So that's my final tip for today.
Yeah, Randy, and I'll just add a little color commentary to that last tip, and then we'll close out today. So, as Randy said, we want to offer some other solutions. I often think about that no conversation is 20% no, 80% other solutions.
Yes.
And Randy gave a great example. He's like, I can't make the 5 o'clock meeting today, but I can make the meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. However, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to be the solution. Mm-hmm. If you say, no, I can't make the meeting, but I've got my colleague who will attend on our team's behalf. Fine. Or maybe you suggest another person who can help out with that. Or maybe you say, I can't help with this, but let's find some time to brainstorm together and see if I can help you come up with some other solutions. So when folks reach out and ask you for something, while we'd like to think that they really just want us, that may be the case, but usually they've got a problem and they see us as a solution. And often it's because we're one of the usual suspects. We're the people that are on all the committees, do all the work. Those are the people we always think of first when we think of who can do this. So while if it feels good to be asked, and sometimes we're afraid we're going to get rejected if we say no, the reality is they probably just want a solution to the problem. And if you can help them come up with a solution that doesn't involve you, that's a win-win. So think about that as you're having some of those no conversations, because as Randy said, it is a superpower. The last thing I'll say about that is when we say yes all the time to every single request, we're actually in many ways diminishing our value. Mm-hmm. So when we say no, and we make ourselves a little less accessible, a little less available, it makes that time that we do give all that more precious. So it's another way of showing value, not only of yourself and the role you play, but coming full circle in our conversation today, the value of your time, because it is frankly valuable. So, Brandy, I just wanted to add that little piece to what you said, because, I think it's so very important.
And I think just one other thing to put a cherry on the sundae is so often when we're stressed, busy, don't have time to think, we are often just we are just having a reflex. Meeting, I've got to attend. It's like this. It's a response immediately to something that's coming our way. What I'm proposing, I think you would say the same thing. Instead of just having a reflex, practice reflection. I'm going to pause. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to think about what you're asking me for. I'm going to take 20 seconds and evaluate what the ask is. And then I'm going to ask some follow-up questions and qualify what you're asking. But so often we just have a reflex. Oh, got to accept. And that's what gets us in trouble. So again, just add a cherry to the sundae.
Yeah. I don't know if this analogy works, Randy. I'm going to try anyway. But as you were talking about that, I think that happens. We just react reflexively to our calendar.
Yes.
And we just take another one and another one, another one. It's almost like overeating, and then we end up with reflux. So if we're reactive all the time, you're going to feel overwhelmed, full.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to feel good. Kind of like when we overeat. So to Randy's point, just be really, really thoughtful. Don't just consume what's in front of you. Be thoughtful and say, do I need to be here? Is this my highest and best use of my time? Well, Randy, my friend, we didn't map this out. We just knew organically this was how it was going to unfold, and we came up with some of our greatest hits today. So what matters the most as a listener is, what was your takeaway? What was something that you heard today that you either want to start doing, stop doing, or continue doing? Something you can insert into your weekly rhythm that will help you manage, protect, and preserve your time more. So you can use that time for those things most precious to you, whether that's the highest and best use of your role, or making sure you're taking care of yourself, or spending time with loved ones, which goes back to Randy's first point around priorities. So regardless, take off one thing from today, put it in play, so you and your team and your family can thrive starting tomorrow.